Let's take a look at the sentences from chapter 24. We'll analyze those sentences here. Practice and review. Igne viso, omnes viri et uxores terrae sunt, et ultra urbem ad litus insulae navigaurerunt, ubi perfugium inventum est. Igne viso starts off right there. You got your ablative absolute. First big hint, it's in the ablative case. Second of all, it's got the perfect passive participle. Now, the book will tell you, and it is 100% correct, don't get me wrong, that I'm concerned that it presents the idea that the ablative absolute can be present tense, imperfect, perfect tense, future tense. I would argue that 65-70% of the time, just my hunch, it's the perfect passive participle. That means there's still a good 30-35% of the time it's the present active participle. Okay? So don't get me wrong on that. I am just saying that your first look, your first glance, your first thought should be the perfect passive participle. Just in practice. So, with the fire having been seen, omnes viri et uxores terrae sunt. There you go, one sentence. All the men and women were frightened. That's it. That's one sentence. And ultra urbem, participial phrase, ad litus insulae, another participial phrase. So my point is, you set those off. Oh, participle phrase. I don't know where it goes. I don't need to worry about translating it. Navigauerunt. So the men and women were frightened and they sailed. Then you can throw in those participial phrases. You don't have to worry participles. You don't have to worry about translating them, because they're just going to add flavor to the sentence. They're not going to modify your subject-verb presentation. So, ultra urbem is beyond the city, ad litus insulae, to the shore of the island. Ubi, then now here's your next part of the sentence, and we have a big, comma here in English, that's helpful, where refuge inventum est was found. So, with the fire having been seen, all the men and women were terrified, and they sailed beyond the city to the shore of the island where refuge was found. Number 2. Populo metu oppresso, iste imperator nobis ex urbe pellendus est. This sentence, here we go, the oppresso, perfect passive participle, and in the ablative case, that's going to be the ablative absolute. So this is your ablative absolute. Absolute. With the people having been oppressed by fear, iste imperator, that, well, I underlined this. This is not, strictly speaking, the subject. The imperator is the subject. Nominative, singular masculine. Iste modifies that. Make that go across here. Ex urbe pellendus est. The future passive participle with the form of the verb to be. Future passive participle plus a form of to be in Latin is your passive periphrastic. And it indicates obligation or necessity. I'm taking the time right now to write this down in the first slide that we come to with this. And often accompanied by the dative of agent. And that's your nobis, which is right here. So with the people having been oppressed by fear, the emperor, that emperor, must be driven out of the city, ex urbe, by us. That's your dative of agent with a passive periphrastic. So notice I've got the pellendus est, indicates obligation or necessity, and the nobis is your dative of agent. Number 3, orator signo ad sacerdote dato eodie revenit, et nunc totus populus latinus gaudet. Again, let's break this up. Signo a sacerdote doto, other way around, sacerdote dote dato. This is your ablative absolute. How do we know? It's ablative case, the passive participle. And now you've got two verbs. You've got the one word here, revenit, with a big et right there. Boom, another word, another part of the sentence. So the orator is your subject. Ray Wainett came back, AODA, on that day. Again, break up your sentences into manageable pieces, okay? Break them up into components that you can use. And now, totus populus Latinus, and now the whole Latin population, gaudet, rejoices. So, all that's left now is the ablative absolute, signo a sacerdote dato, with the sign having been given a sacerdote, by the priest. So, let's translate this. With the sign having been given by the priest, the orator on that day returned, and now the whole Latin population rejoices. Number 4. Gens Romana virsus Silius scriptoris magna laude quondam recapit. Seem this one relatively straightforward. I don't see any participles in there. I don't see any participles, meaning there's no participial phrases, and no, I believe in the first one I said participial phrases, I meant prepositional phrases. It just struck me. Ultra urbem and ad litus insulae, prepositional phrases, not participial phrases. If I said that wrong, I apologize. It just hit me as I was going through number 4. The gens recapit. There you go. Then the nation, the peoples, received. What kind of peoples? The Roman peoples. The Roman peoples what? Received what? The verses. Accusative plural feminine. Ilius scriptoris, of that author. Magna laude, with great praise. Ablative of manner. Quondam, at one time, once upon a time. The Roman people, the Roman race, the Roman nation, the Roman clan, whatever you want to say gens means, once received the verses of that author with great praise. Number 5. Laudes atque dona huius modi ab oratoribus desiderabantur. That's a fun word to say. Desiderabantur. Third person, plural, imperfect, passive, indicative. And with the passive, we expect either an ablative of means or ablative of personal agent. Here's the personal agent. Notice I'm not translating, I'm just analyzing the laudes at dona. So this and that, they were desired. Because I can see desiderabantur is desired. I can see the root of desire in that. I can see the imperfect. I know it's the imperfect tense, so I'm going to translate it were. So, praises and gifts. Huius modi, of this is genitive, singular masculine, of this sort, of this measure, were desired by the speakers. Don't have enough context to know what huius modi means, but that's the level that they were wanting, they were desiring. Number 6, imperio accepto. Bing, bing, bing. Did you see that? What is that? Accepto, perfect passive participle. And what case is it in? The ablative case. Oh my goodness, absolute certainty. That's an ablative absolute. Move that. We'll bracket that. With only 2 words, we can just... Now, normally I would suggest either just postponing it because it's not going to affect the root part of your sentence. But look what we got here. This is just imperio accepto with a power having been accepted. And not close enough to English that doesn't pose a problem. With a power having been accepted, dux aequus magnanimusque fidem suam rei publicae ostendit. First read through makes sense. Verb subject at the beginning, verb at the end. There's an accusative here in the middle, no problem. The leader, just and magnanimous. Meaning the aequus means level-headed. The fair is a good sense. Aequus means evil, but when equal, but when you're talking about a person's temperament, you can call it fair. That's fine. Fair, just, even-keeled. The leader, fair and magnanimous, kind-hearted. He showed his faith to the republic. Notice with verbs of giving, showing, or telling, we can expect, the indirect object, which is the dative singular feminine in this case. Okay, so With a power having been accepted, the fair and magnanimous leader showed his faith for the Republic, or to the Republic, whichever one you want. It depends on the context. Number 7. Aliquis eos quinque equos exigne ripi postea userat. Aliquos, standard structure, aliquos, userat. Third person singular, pluperfect. Notice it's the pluperfect, active indicative. Had ordered. Someone, aliquis, nominative singular masculine. Someone had ordered. Great, there's our sentence. Someone had ordered what? Those 5 horses. Great, and I hope you recognize that's accusative, plural, masculine. Those 5 horses exigne, out of the fire, eripi. If there's a word that's going to cause you problems in this sentence, it's eripi. And it's because you're not used to it quite yet. We haven't seen it a lot. It is the infinitive, the present passive infinitive. The active infinitive would be eripere, but in a third conjugation verb, that ere shortens up to eripi. So this is active, this is passive. Someone ordered those 5 horses to be snatched from the fire. Afterward, this is just your adverb that means afterward. And wherever you want to throw that in, that's fine. 8. Cernis ne omnia quae tibi scienda sunt. Do you discern? Do you see? And this just means it's a question. Do you see, second person singular present active indicative? Do you see all the things, everything? Accusative, plural, neuter. That's an N for neuter. Which modifies that. Which future passive participle plus a form of the verb to be is your what? Passive periphrastic. Which ought to be, which must be known, tibi, and what do we expect also? Dative of agent. By you. Do you see all the things which ought to be known by you? Number 9. Ille ab arche urbis reveniens, ab istius hominibus premi coipit. So, ille, that man, began something. What do we expect with the verb begin? I begin to something. Do I see an infinitive here? Just as before. Here's my present passive infinitive. Premere, began to be pressed. Okay? That man began to be pressed, and in this case, ab istis hominibus, with the passive voice, we expect the ablative of personal agent. That's why we have the ob. Yeah, lots going on. In the previous sentence, passive periphrastic, we expect the dative of agent. In this case, it's the ablative of agent because there's no obligation or necessity, it's just simple passive voice. So yes, you get that dative of agent with the very specific construction of the passive periphrastic. Now let's translate this business here. Ab arche urbis reveniens. This is your present active participle. It is not in the ablative case, which means it's just your regular old use of the participle, not a specialized construction, just your regular participle, and it modifies ille, its nominative singular masculine. That man, coming back from the citadel of the city, began to be pressed by those men. I don't know what's going on. Are they physically pressing him like, hey buddy, give us your money? Are they pressing him like, hey, you gonna vote for us? Vote for us? Or, hey, take these flyers and go shop at, Joe's shoe store. Don't know what's going on. Again, you got to imagine some backstory in this. Don't have enough information. Nevertheless, that man, coming back from the citadel of the city, began to be pressed by those men. Number 10. Cupio tangere manu milius militis qui metu caruit, atque gravia scelera contra rem publicum oppressit. Cupio, So, no, all right, let's analyze the construction. Kupio, I desire. There's your verb. Tangere, complementary infinitive. I desire to touch. Complementary infinitive. The hand. Okay. Normally, I like to analyze it more fully before I go along, but goodness gracious, we're in a flow here. I desire to touch the hand of that man. Great. Accusative, singular feminine. The hand of that man. This is of that soldier. Excuse me. Genitive singular, not just man, but soldier. Militis. Who? Great. Let's stop there. Again, I'm big in analyzing, but if we're on a roll, we don't need to stop that. All right? Now let's tackle that qui clause. Who? Caruit, he did a couple things. He caruited and oppressited. He caruit, he freed from fear. Okay? He was lacking. That's a good one. He was lacking fear. That's it, lacking fear. And he put down, he oppressed the serious crimes, the weighty crimes, the gravia scalera against the Republic. Contra rem publicam. So I desire to touch the hand of that soldier who was without fear and who put down, who oppressed the serious crimes against the Republic. 11. Iste dux protinus expulsus est, ut imperium excipiebat. Okay? That soldier, that leader, iste dux, soldier was the other one, dux is leader. Dux, nominative singular masculine. That leader, okay, was driven out straight away, protinus. Right away, boom. Ut means as or while or when, as excipiebat. He was snatching away, he was snatching off imperium, the power. That leader was driven away fully, immediately, straight away, as he was taking power. Number 12. Illi servi autem perfugium solacium ab amicis quaerebant. So, those slaves, those servants, moreover, perfugium solaciumque, refuge and comfort, don't know what they have, by friends they were seeking. So those servants, those slaves were seeking, third person plural, imperfect, active, indicative. They were seeking what? Perfugium solaciumque, the two things, comfort and refuge and comfort from friends. This sentence, fairly straightforward. None of the participles that we've been having, all good. 13. Cornu audito ille miles incertus concilii, copias ad mediam insulam vertit. Hope you recognize ablatives. We have the passive passive, not the passive paraphrastic. The perfect passive participle, audito, with a horn having been heard. Ille miles, that soldier, nominative singular masculine, it's the subject, that soldier. Incertus, that modifies miles, uncertain, genitive, singular neuter, of the plan. What did he do? He verted, he turns his copias, the troops, accusative plural feminine, he turns the troops ad mediam insulam. There's the signal. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Everybody go to the middle of the island. Again, you got to create your own backstory with these sentences. Number 14. When the common danger had been averted, 2 of our sons and all of our daughters came back from Asia. Let's go ahead and use the ablative absolute here with the danger. So this is all This is all going to be ablative absolute. Common danger had been averted. So we know what's going to be in the ablative. Periculo communi, common, communi. Let's try that again. Periculi, periculo communi, with a common danger, where so? Having been turned, okay? Two of our sons, duo, ex, two out of our sons, filiis, do you want to say filiis nostris? Unnecessary perhaps, but because, you know, a listener, a Roman would say, well, what sons, who other sons, what other sons are we talking about? Two of our filiis et omnes, and all of our daughters, filii, okay, from Asia, ex Asia, came back. Revenerunt. There. With the common danger having been turned, two of our sons and all of our daughters returned from Asia. Number 15. Our hopes must not be destroyed by those three evil men. Our hopes must not be destroyed by those three evil men. So we're going to use be destroyed, must not be destroyed. We don't need to worry about the word must. We are going to use our new construction, the passive periphrastic. And what is the passive periphrastic? We're going to do two things. Number one, the future passive participle plus a form of the verb to be. And then number two, we're going to use the dative of agent. So number one, our hopes. Nostri space. Okay? Our hopes must not be destroyed. Deleo delere. Non delendai sunt. Okay? Our hopes must not be destroyed by those three evil men. Let's go with those three. Those three men. Istis tribus malis. I think that's enough. Istis tribus malis. You can say viris if you like, but I think the substantive use of the adjective is enough. And we might want to move that delendai sunt down here. Nostri space, istis tribus malis, non delendai sunt. Number 14. Since the people of all nations are seeking peace, all leaders must conquer the passion for or of power. So, in this case, since the people of all nations are seeking peace, we're going to use the ablative absolute. The people, the popolo, let's say the popolo, with the people seeking peace, quaereo, quaerente. That's the present active participle. Okay? The people of all nations. I didn't leave myself enough room. Let me back this up just a little bit. The people of all nations, omnium nationum quaerente. With the people of all nations seeking peace, leaders, duces, omnes, all leaders, must conquer the passion for. You know what? Let me flip this around to use our new construction. Because all leaders must conquer the passion, let me rewrite this up here. All leaders must conquer the passion. The passion for power must be conquered by all leaders. So this is our passive periphrastic construction. This is the future passive participle plus a form of the verb to be and the dative of agent. So the passion for power, the cupiditas, for power, imperii, genitive. By all leaders, okay? By leaders, we're going to make ducibus, omnibus, must be conquered, winco, wincre, so it's win ken da, because it modifies cupiditas, est. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one, okay? The desire for power must be conquered by all leaders. And we've just completely turned that around from the original English. In part, it's much more Latin. It's just what the Romans would have done. Number 17, the leader, having been driven out by both the freemen and the slaves, could not regain his command. Hey, this must be the ablative absolute, correct? Wrong, not if I say it that way, because the ablative absolute must be absolute, must be separated from the rest, and this is not the case here. So the leader, the dukes, having been driven out by the freemen and the slaves, liberis, by the freemen at servis, and we'll just use the having been driven out, expulsus. Notice it modifies dukes. The leader, having been driven out by freemen and slaves, could not regain his command. His imperium, non recipere, well, let's go with this, non potuit, was not able, potuit, to regain, recipere, his command. Yeah, in English we go the one way. Was able to regain the command, but in Latin we're going to, it's put in exactly the opposite direction, but I hope this makes sense. And now we're on the Sententiae Antiquae. Number 1, Carthago delenda est, very famous Latin word, Latin phrase. Carthage must be destroyed. They said this in a war with Carthage, of course. This is your quite simply, the passive periphrastic, used to indicate obligation or necessity. Number 2, Asia victa, dux Romanus Felix multos servos in Italiam miset. With Asia having been conquered, there's your, this is your ablative absolute right here, ablative absolute. The Dux Romanus, the Roman leader, the fortunate, the happy, the Felix Roman leader, what did he do? He sent multos servos, many slaves, into Italy. The lucky, perhaps. Lucky's the best in this case. Number 3, omnibus fero militis perteritis. Straight up clue, ablative absolute right there. Ablative case, starts off the sentence, quisque se servare cupiebat. With everyone having been frightened by the sword of the soldier. Notice how the Romans consistently, the ablative absolute, they bookend it. They put omnibus at one end, or the noun at the one end, the verb, the participle at the other, and everything else goes in between. In this case, there's only 2 words, but it works even when there are more. With everybody having been frightened by the sword of the soldier, each desired to save himself. It's the object of servare. Number 3, quid dicendum est, libere dicam. Whatever must be said, there's your passive periphrastic to indicate obligation or necessity. Whatever must be said, dicam libere. I say it, I will say it, future tense. First singular future active indicative. I will say it freely. Very bold statement. Number 5, haec omnia vulnera belli tibi nunc sanandu sunt. Notice here the passive periphrastic. In other words, it has the future passive participle plus a form of to be. I'll write this down because I think it's important that you remember the future passive participle plus a form of to be. And what else? The dative of agent. And do we have anything of in the dative case here? Yep. Tibi. There's your dative of agent. All these wounds of war. All wounds of war. I know it's a little flip-flop. Nunc, now, must be healed by you. Number 6. Nec tumultum nec hastem militis, nec mortum violentam timebo, Augusto terras tenente. Very bold statement. Look at that. Neither uprising nor the spear of a soldier, nor death, a violent death, timebo, will I fear. And here, for emphasis, just to twist, mix it up a little bit, Augusto tenente terras. They put that ablative absolute at the end with Augustus holding the lands. So yeah, I like that sentence. Neither tumult, nor spear, nor the violent spear of the soldier, nor the violent death will I fear. With Augustus holding land. Number 7, Tarquinio expulso. Stop. Ablative absolute. Move on. Just making sure you catch it. Hopefully by now you do. With Tarquinius having been expulsed. Nomen regis audire non poterat populus Romanus. Mix up the words at the end. The name of the king, the Roman people. There's your subject. Populus Romanus had not been able to hear. With Tarquin having been expulsed, the name of king. The Romans were not able to hear the name of king. In other words, the Romans early on were ruled by 7 kings, starting with Romulus, and then all the way through to the worst with Tarquinius. But once he was driven out, that's it. No more kings for Rome. They went to a republic. That's what this sentence is referring to. Number 8. Ad utilitatem vitae omnia consilia factaque nobis regenda sunt. To the usefulness of life, all plans and deeds must be ruled, governed by us. That's the construction, the passive periphrastic construction. What is nobis? The dative of agent. What did it mean? What did I say? All plans and deeds, well, by us. Let's flip it around to English to make a little more sense. We must govern all our plans and actions towards the utility, usefulness of life. Again, you've gotten to a point where, with the ablative absolute, passive periphrastic, you're losing this one, and with participles in general, you're losing this one-on-one kind of English translation. So you need to get a little more comfortable. Not need, that's a little strong. For the purposes of this class, I'm happy with the literal translation demonstrating you understand the Latin. But it's appropriate, I guess I should say, to get a little out of your comfort zone in translation. Not too crazy, but certainly with the passive periphrastic, we're going to use that much more actively in English. So instead of this must be done by us, we must do it. Do feel comfortable in translating that in that way. The all things must be ruled by us. No, we must rule all things. Do feel comfortable with the passive periphrastic. I'm asking you to take some liberty with the passive periphrastic and changing that around. Perfectly fine. And that's it. That's it. Well, good. That was a good note to end on. Be comfortable with changing your passive periphrastic. Don't necessarily feel comfortable with the ablative absolute. Why? Because I love the ablative absolute. I want the ablative absolute to come back in English. I want it to be strong in English. I like the phrasing of the ablative absolute. But that's a personal choice for me. Let me know if you have questions. Thanks.